This is the TV News, the industry's only daily video report, brought to you by American Ingenuity TV. For all of your electronic marketing and creative needs, American Ingenuity TV is simply the solution.
Welcome to the TVNews.TV for Friday, May 21st, and we begin with a stunning announcement from both Dish Network and the Weather Channel that, due to an impasse in carriage negotiations, the Weather Channel has been dropped by Dish. That means a 14 million home hit that the Weather Channel has taken to its 100 million home U.S. viewing universe. Now, according to a statement from Dish SVP Programming Dave Schull, Dish cannot pay standard rates for the Weather Channel as they are relying too much on weather-tainment, such as movies, and are turning away from weather reporting. We'll have more on this situation on Monday, much more. But in the meantime, with tornadic activity forecast for parts of the nation tonight, we ask, anyone know what movie is playing tonight on the Weather Channel? And in a related story, Verizon has gone public regarding their comments on petitioning the FCC to design and implement a retransmission standstill agreement that will effectively prevent programmers from pulling their signal during protracted or stalled retransmission negotiations. Now, this standstill agreement would remain in effect as long as both parties are exercising good faith in the problematic negotiations. Verizon, along with many other cable and satellite distributors, maintain that the FCC has the authority to impose this standstill agreement in order to protect the viewing public from both disruption and exorbitant programming costs.
The Sports TV News is brought to you by Dude Walker. Get the best voice, get the best price. Get Dude at DudeWalker.com.
Yesterday, we told you about what some in sports TV are calling the Heidi race on Versus. And here to shed even more light on what's happening in this tempest in a sports teapot is our very own Eric Mackerlin. Eric?
Thanks, Jeff. And of course, when we talk about Heidi, we're talking about that great 1968 New York Jets Oakland Raiders football game that was wiped from the memory, collective memory of East Coast sports fans, at least. What's happened here is kind of maybe Heidi in miniature. You know, to just go back, what we had happen is on Monday, Versus was live broadcasting the Tour of California from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, it was set to switch to Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final Playoff Series between the Montreal Canadiens and the Philadelphia Flyers. The only problem is because of some weather and some slow racing on Monday. The end of the Tour of California looked very much like it was going to go over the 7 o'clock time frame in the East. On Sunday, what happened, Versus had allowed the end of the race to bleed over the 7 o'clock time frame. And this had enraged some hockey fans who had been expecting to see the hockey game exactly at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So reacting to that visceral reaction that hockey fans gave really what is Versus' #1 sport now, Versus decided to dump out of the Tour of California on Monday, okay, and go straight to hockey pregame. In turn, what they did was they took coverage of the race and they moved it to its internet platform. Well, the problem we have here again is you can't keep everybody happy even when you've got this universe with hundreds of channels and even an option to go with the internet. Essentially what happened here next is the cycling fans got as angry as the hockey fans got. Now, one other thing we need to do is loop back to 2007 to understand why hockey fans are so sensitive. If you remember, in 2007, a hockey playoff game between the Ottawa Senators and the Buffalo Sabres went into overtime. Okay? Unfortunately, NBC stayed with the game as long as they could until they needed to move to pre-race coverage of the Preakness Stakes. Okay? And what they did then was they dumped out of hockey, moved that game to Versus, and then went live with their Preakness pre-race. Okay, so this has happened before. This is why hockey fans are sensitive to this, and they know that if they complain, they in turn can get a behavior change out of a network. There's only one problem here, and the problem is 2 words: Lance Armstrong. Okay, after Versus decided to dump out of the game, Lance Armstrong decided to tweet his dissatisfaction with the Versus decision. Now, you say Lance Armstrong's just one guy. Indeed he is, and indeed he is the most popular cyclist on the planet. but he's also one of the biggest tweeters in the world. Lance Armstrong has 2.4 million followers on Twitter, which means he, in essence, has a bigger audience than a lot of mainstream television networks and newspapers. When Lance Armstrong tweets and tweets his dissatisfaction, it's news, and that's exactly what he did on Monday. So we've got a very, very interesting dichotomy here. On the one hand, you've got the hockey fans at Versus, who really are, because of the increase in ratings that we've seen over the last year, and especially in this playoff, these people have a lot of pull with the network. When the hockey fans complain, they certainly are getting listened to. On the other hand, you have the cycling fans. Now, we need to remember, Versus wasn't always Versus, was it? It started life as the Outdoor Life Network. And when it did, its centerpiece of programming was the Tour de France. And they did it when Lance Armstrong was in the midst of his 7 years in a row reign as Tour de France champion. Versus, as a result, is in a very, very tough position here. Who do you anger? Do you anger the folks that you have the most important business relationship with, the NHL and its vocal, media-savvy fans? Or do you anger the cycling fans, the people who used to be the centerpiece of your business, and anger one of the most popular athletes on the planet in Lance Armstrong, a man who's got a megaphone that's as strong as any out there? It's a very, very interesting conflict, and I'm going to be very interested to see how Versus works it out.
We thank you, Eric. You gave us some information that we didn't know, and we always thank you for that, and we will see you next Friday.
Future events and opportunities brought to you by Sando Communications. Sound judgment, solid credibility, and superior results. This is Sando Communications.
It is a great time to become an advertiser on the TV news as viewing has surged. To get started, click right here at the tvnews.tv website, or you can drop us an email at advertise@thetvnews.tv. And that's about it for today's edition of the TV News. We will be back Monday with top news plus the big picture, news analysis, and commentary. I'm Jeff Grimshaw. Thanks for watching. We thank all of the men and women in uniform who put their lives on the line to keep us safe. And as always, go out and make it a great weekend.
The TV News has been brought to you by American Ingenuity TV. For all of your electronic marketing and creative challenges, American Ingenuity TV is simply the solution.